Lewis Brian Hopkin Jones was born in the Park Nursing Home in Cheltenham, Gloucestershire, on Saturday the 28th of February 1942. An attack of croup at the age of 4 left Jones with asthma that lasted for the rest of his life. His middle-class parents, Lewis Blunt Jones and Louisa Beatrice Jones, were of Welsh descent. Jones attended local schools, including Dean Close School from September 1949 to July 1953, and Cheltenham Grammar School for Boys, which he entered in September 1953 after passing the 11+ exam. He enjoyed badminton and diving at school, and became first clarinet in the school orchestra. Jones reportedly obtained 7 O-level passes in 1957, thence continuing into the 6th form and obtaining a further 2 O-levels. He passed A-levels in physics and chemistry, but he failed in biology. Jones was able to perform well in exams despite a lack of academic effort. However, he found school regimented and disliked school uniforms and conformism in general. Both Jones's parents were interested in music. His father was a piano teacher in addition to his job as an aeronautical engineer, and his mother played piano and organ and led the choir at the local church. Jones listened to classical music as a child but preferred blues, particularly Elmore James and Robert Johnson. In 1957, he first heard Cannonball Adderley's music and took an interest in jazz. Jones persuaded his parents to buy him a saxophone, and 2 years later, his parents gave him his first acoustic guitar as a 17th birthday present. Jones began performing at local blues and jazz clubs. While busking and working odd jobs, he reportedly stole small amounts of money from work to pay for cigarettes, for which he was sacked. Jones left Cheltenham and moved to London, where he became friends with fellow musicians Alexis Korner, future Manfred Mann singer Paul Jones, future Cream bassist Jack Bruce, and others, who made up the small London rhythm and blues and jazz scene. He became a blues musician for a brief time, calling himself Elmo Lewis and playing slide guitar. He also started a group with Paul Jones called the Roosters in January 1963. After both Joneses left the group, Eric Clapton took over Brian's position as guitarist. Jones placed an advertisement in the 2nd of May 1962 edition of Jazz News, a Soho club information sheet, inviting musicians to audition for a new R&B group at the Bricklayer's Arms pub. Pianist Ian Stewart was the first to respond. Later, singer Mick Jagger also joined this band. Jagger and his childhood friend Keith Richards had met Jones when he and Paul were playing Robert Johnson's Dust My Broom with Korner's band at the Ealing Jazz Club. Jagger brought guitarist Richards to rehearsals. Richards then joined the band. Jones's and Stewart's acceptance of Richards and the Chuck Berry songs he wanted to play coincided with the departure of blues purists guitarist Geoff Bradford and singer Brian Knight, who had no tolerance for Chuck Berry. Forming the Rolling Stones, as Richards tells it, Jones came up with the name the Rollin Stones later with the G while on the phone with a venue owner. The Rollin Stones played their first gig on the 12th of July 1962 at the Marquee Club in London, with a lineup of Jagger, Richards, Jones, Stewart, bass player Dick Taylor, and drummer Tony Chapman. From September 1962 to September 1963, Jones, Jagger and Richards shared a flat at 102 Edith Grove, Chelsea with James Phelge, a future photographer whose name was used in some of the group's early Nanker or Phelge writing credits. Jones and Richards spent day after day playing guitar while listening to blues records. During this time, Jones also taught Jagger how to play harmonica. While acting as the band's business manager, Jones received £5 more than the other members, which did not sit well with the rest of the band and created resentment. Richards has said that both he and Jagger were surprised to learn that Jones considered himself the leader and was receiving the extra £5, especially as other people, like Giorgio Gomelsky, appeared to be doing the booking. Changes in band dynamics. Oldham recognized the financial advantages of band members writing their own songs, as exemplified by Lennon and McCartney, and that playing covers would not sustain a band in the limelight for long. Further, he wanted to make Jagger's charisma and flamboyance a focus of live performances. Jones saw his influence over the Stones' direction wane, as their repertoire comprised fewer blues covers than he preferred. More Jagger or Richards originals developed, and Oldham increased his own managerial control, displacing Jones from yet another role. In March 1967, Anita Pallenberg left him for Richards when Jones was hospitalized while the three were on a trip to Morocco, further damaging the already strained relations between Jones and Richards. As tensions and Jones's substance abuse increased, his musical contributions became sporadic. He became bored with the guitar and sought exotic instruments to play. and he was increasingly absent from recording sessions. In Peter Whitehead's promotional film for We Love You made in July 1967, he appears extremely groggy and disoriented. Jones was arrested for drug possession on the 10th of May 1967, shortly after the Redlands bust at Richards' Sussex home. Authorities found marijuana, cocaine, and methamphetamine in his flat. He confessed to marijuana use, but said he did not use hard drugs. Jones was arrested a second time on the 21st of May 1968 for possession of cannabis, which he said had been left by previous tenants of the flat. Because he was on probation at the time, he faced a long jail sentence if found guilty. The jury found him guilty, but the judge had sympathy for Jones. Instead of jailing him, he fined him £50 plus £105 in costs. Jones's legal troubles, estrangement from his bandmates, substance abuse, and mood swings became too much of an obstacle to his active participation in the band. The Rolling Stones wanted to tour the United States in 1969 for the first time in 3 years, but Jones was not in a fit condition to tour, and his second arrest exacerbated problems with acquiring a U.S. work visa. In addition, Jones's attendance at rehearsals and recording sessions had become erratic. When he did appear, he either rarely contributed anything musically, or when he did, his bandmates would switch off his amplifier, leaving Richards to play nearly all the guitars. The Stones decided that following the release of the Let It Bleed album, they would start a tour of North America in November 1969. However, the Stones management was informed that Jones would not receive a work permit, owing to his drug convictions. At the suggestion of Stewart, the Stones decided to add a new guitarist. On the 8th of June 1969, Jones was visited by Jagger, Richards, and Watts, and was told that the group he had formed would continue without him. At around midnight on the night of 2 or the 3rd of July 1969, Jones was discovered motionless at the bottom of his swimming pool at Cochford Farm. His Swedish girlfriend Anna Wolin was convinced he was alive when he was taken out of the pool, insisting he still had a pulse. However, by the time the doctors arrived, it was too late, and he was pronounced dead on arrival at the hospital at the age of 27. The coroner's report stated it was a drowning, later clarified as death by misadventure, and noted his liver and heart were greatly enlarged by past drug and alcohol abuse. Upon Jones's death, The Who's Pete Townshend wrote a poem titled A Normal Day for Brian, a man who died every day. Jimi Hendrix dedicated a song to him on U.S. television, and Jim Morrison of The Doors published a poem titled Ode to L.A. while thinking of Brian Jones deceased. Theories surrounding Jones's death developed soon afterwards, with associates of the Stones claiming to have information that he was murdered.